The stage is set. The bright lights are on. Welcome along to Obviously Fight Talk episode 79. And I am joined as always by Robert Palin.
Hello.
This is the sultry, squeaky, annoying voice of Noel O'Keefe. So welcome along to episode 79. If you're watching on YouTube, click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss any future videos or a look back at our old stuff. Follow us on Facebook as well at Obviously Fight Talk, on the Twitter machine at @talk_fight, and on Instagram at Obviously Fight Talk as well. Shout out as always to our sponsors, Fight Store Ireland, the fighter's choice. Everything you need under two roofs. MMAmix.com, they're obviously good. You got it, because they're obviously good.
You ruined that.
They're obviously good because they're with Obviously Fight Talk. And feelsupreme.co.uk. Receive 10% off all products from Feel Supreme website by using the code Fight Talk at the checkout.
He tries to get creative when he messes up.
Oh, yeah, making a mess of this. Visit www.feelsupreme.co.uk. God, I'm terrible. For CBD oil and many organic and natural supplements. I'm not reading all of this, but it's a lot of good stuff. They looked after the Chinese. Dave broke 5 world records. Look, it burns fat as well, the stuff they do. They look after Average Joe and they look after world champions, so check them out. This week's show...
Just take a breath. Just take a breath before this.
We have... the word legend, Rob.
Yeah.
It's thrown around a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, like I get it all the time.
No, that's leg end.
Oh.
But legend is thrown around. Hall of Famer. That's another one that... That's a more legit, I think, than calling someone a legend because, you know, it's actual fact.
Yeah.
One of the greatest of all time. 68 knockouts on a professional record.
Imagine knocking out 68. Or, well, you know.
Yeah.
Imagine knocking people out 68 times professionally.
We are going to be joined by big George Foreman. Soak that in. Just soak that in. George Foreman.
It's awesome.
He's going to be joining us in a little bit. He's going to be talking a little bit about Conor McGregor. We're going to talk a little boxing as well, I presume, as you would. Who knows where it's going to go, but we'll be dialing up and talking to George Foreman via the magic of telephone communications.
Yes, bring it back to the old school.
We'll also be joined, we're not saying he's the best, we're just saying there's no one better. Brendan Dorman will be coming on to talk all things UFC 215 that goes down this weekend.
Imagine having to follow George Foreman.
Yeah.
Brendan. You better bring your A game.
Pressure on,
you better bring your A game.
Obviously, Fight Talk Quick-Fire News is back this week. This is where we've got 2 minutes on the clock to talk about a subject, and we'll be recapping UFC Rotterdam. Johnny's not with us this week as Johnny is off holidaying. Even Jiu-Jitsu Masters, Johnny Jitsu needs a holiday.
I seen he was on holiday, and then I seen now off to the gym.
Yeah.
Fair play to Johnny.
Never stops. Never stops. So let's delve into something that I'm not going to be completely honest about, a completely fanboy now. And we're like, oh my God, we're ringing George Foreman.
Yeah,
we're ringing George Foreman. So let's ring George Foreman. We are delighted to say we are now joined by the great, the man, the myth, the legend, the knockout king, George Foreman, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to Obviously Fight Talk. And the big event went down almost 2 weeks ago now, Rob, where Mayweather took on Conor McGregor. The world was engulfed with it. There was a lot of information on social media firing back. After the fight, we were looking through everything and we noticed that a legend of boxing was in favour of the fight, enjoyed the fight and was impressed by the fight. So we thought, let's throw a needle into the haystack and see would it be possible. And I am delighted to say we are now joined on the phone by big George Foreman. So George, it's truly an honour for myself and Robert to speak to you, and thank you for taking the time to come on to Obviously Fight Talk.
I love it. I'm looking forward to it.
I think let's start there, George, just in and around the fight. Obviously, it was big news. What was your opinion of it, and were you impressed by it, and what did you think of all the media cry out of circus, etc., of the bout?
Well, for the first time, I think all of the media should apologize. All of the negative things they were saying about the fight, it was probably, it's going to be hard to top it. It could have been the fight of the year.
And do you think that's what a lot of people were saying, that Mayweather carried Conor, and there's a lot of, like, it's the pro boxing people are saying that Mayweather allowed Conor to do what he was doing? Or do you honestly think that Conor brought in a great game plan and surprised Floyd in the fight?
Not only did he surprise Floyd Mayweather, he surprised me and a whole host of experts, because McGregor hit Mayweather often. His defense didn't even work against McConnor. His defense was, he had to come out and fight like an old boxing slugger, like George Foreman or something.
And have you seen much of Conor McGregor before this fight, or was this your first exposure to him?
This was my first exposure to him as a boxer. We'd seen some occasion where he had gone in as an MMA fighter, which was pretty impressive, but I had no idea he'd be able to carry a boxing match. The hardest thing in the world is to go 12 rounds in a boxing match. Didn't you remember about George Foreman going for the rope-a-dope? I couldn't even go but 8 round once. This guy went on and further. He could have done 12 rounds. He just got tired.
And is that what you put it down to? Do you put it down to the energy, the tiredness? Like, because a lot of people come out and said that Floyd finished him and hurt him. Do you see it more of that he ran out of gas?
Floyd Mayweather finished the fight like George Foreman run Lyle. He had to get out there and fight. He wasn't playing with this guy. I don't know if you've ever been hit in the face with a pair of 8-ounce gloves. You don't carry that on. No sirree. He was in a fight, and he was so happy. He jumped up on the rope. He was happy. Floyd Mayweather was happy he finished that fight.
And what did you rate of Conor's power? Because a lot of people are saying it didn't cross over. So, of course, you were known as an absolute knockout artist. There's 68 wins by way of knockout on your record. So, were you impressed with Conor's power in the fight?
Yes, I was. As a matter of fact, the referee protected Mayweather in one of the last rounds. McConnor hurt him. He had him hurt, was going for the finish, and the referee stepped in for no reason at all and stopped it. It was a vicious body punch.
I think that was the 8
McConnor
rounds.
McConnor had him with a good body shot, and the referee saved him. But that's typical of a boxing match.
And what do you think? Would you like to see Conor again? There's a lot of talk of Paulie Malignaggi, and some people are even calling for a Manny Pacquiao bout. Is that something you'd be interested in seeing?
What I was interested in seeing, I saw that a fighter from MMA, if he's groomed properly, can cross over to a championship boxing. He did it. He did it better. I went home. I bought the fight in 2 locations. And it was the first time I bought fights that I was content and satisfied with. It was a good fight. Very good. It was worth my money.
Do you think that this will make a lot of boxing fans turn into mixed martial arts fans, like the likes of you? I'm not sure if you watch much MMA, but would just make you want to tune in for McGregor's next fight in the UFC?
Well, McGregor, he's a celebrity now. He's top draw. He's everything you want from an athlete. Wherever he goes now, the fans are going to follow him. They tuned in for Conor McGregor. Nobody tuned in for Mayweather. They tuned in to see if he could do it, and he showed us something. I'm shocked to go that many rounds with a world-class fighter in boxing. His hands were tied because he couldn't use any of his tactics from MMA, yet he still did a good job.
I have to say that is some endorsement that I'm sure the McGregor camp coming from yourself, George, will absolutely love to hear. Again, we felt similar. I thought, the hype, the circus building up to it, it was all to promote the fight. I thought it went really well. And I think personally both sides won. Boxing won and MMA won on it, because a lot of people are saying that boxing's dead. We don't agree with that. We have Triple G taking on Canelo coming up. Are you looking forward to that bout?
Oh, yeah, that's another good fight. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a tough call to try to come behind Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. That's a tough one to follow. It's a tough show.
Not many people know the boxing business like you, George. Do you think that the likes of Showtime will be chasing McGregor to come back to boxing? Because obviously he's talking about maybe doing both sports. But do you think, the guys who are making the money, they're going to come to Conor and say, here, we want you to have another boxing match? Because it looks like this has done huge numbers on pay-per-view.
If you want some money, you got to find Conor McGregor. That's for sure. If you're satisfied with your pay, stay where you are. But if you really want to raise, you better find Conor McGregor.
That's become a theme in MMA, is every fighter is calling out Conor McGregor. As Conor refers to it, George, when you get the Conor McGregor fight, it's a red panty night at home with the wife, because you say, we made it, baby, we made the money. So he is the big attraction. Just something Conor spoke about after he presented. He stood in the post press conference, and he had the notorious whiskey. So this is something that yourself, George, a great entrepreneur outside of boxing, what advice would you have, if any, for any fighter? Because we know there's a lot of fighters. Some fighters that spring to mind is Ricky Hatton. He has spoke publicly about how difficult he finds it when the walk to the ring is over and life after boxing begins. So what advice would you have for any fighter coming near the end, to, like what Conor is saying, he's certainly not coming near the end, but he's looking at other adventures the way you have successfully?
Conor McGregor, there'll come a time when only Conor McGregor, he's the only one who's done something so spectacular. He's in a class by himself. I'm a boxer. I can speak for Mayweather because I've been where he's been and back. McGregor, he's been where Floyd Mayweather, George Foreman, and everyone else have gone and come back. Now, this guy's in a class for himself. He can advise young fighters, young MMA fighters, and boxers. He can advise them now. He's an expert.
And speaking of boxing in general, what do you think of the state of the boxing's heavyweight division at the moment? A lot of people are saying it's coming back into a bit of a golden age. Obviously, you were part of the golden age of heavyweight boxing. What do you make of the likes of Anthony Joshua in the heavyweight division at the moment?
Boy, what a heavyweight fight Anthony Joshua and Klitschko put on.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Exciting night for boxing. It was something exciting. Had me on the edge of the seats. Once again, it's a good time for heavyweights. And there's a guy in the United States, call him Wilder. Wilder is good, and once these two guys fight and meet in the middle of the ring, the world will come knocking again, as they did for Conor McGregor.
And do you think we could get back to the heyday, the likes of the big fights that you were contested in, George? Do you see there being an era of absolute killers at the top of the game in boxing? Because you stepped in between them ropes with some of the greatest names in boxing, and you have their name on your W list. Do you think that boxing can return to them glory days, the heights of the heavyweights?
I think so. This Anthony Joshua is something from the past. He's good for the present, and he's going to be a spectacular for the future. Joshua, oh yes, he's a fighter. He's a good one.
As well, unfortunately, there's where
as they say, happy days are here again.
I can't wait. We are excited with Anthony Joshua, and something that I thought a lot of people used to give out about Klitschko, that he put on just jab school in a lot of his fights, but in the Joshua fight, he was pulled into an absolute war, and it's probably in defeat for Klitschko, but it's probably his most memorable fight in years.
The most memorable fight he's ever been in, as far as I'm concerned, that he laid it down on the line. He had to fight. He did fight. I'm proud of that for boxing. But that Anthony Joshua was something from the past. He was in from something from the past. You don't find that kind of fighter anymore.
As well, there's something obviously that you're involved in at the moment. Some tragedy in the region where you're living at the moment. How are things at the moment in Houston?
Well, with the water has come and gone now. The hurricane passed through, but it left a lot of devastation. A lot of us are cleaning up. We've lost so much precious furniture and cars and antiques, houses having to be gutted out. But you know what? We can take it. They say in Texas, the stars at night, big and bright in Texas, but the hearts at night and day big and bright in Texas, because we're starting all over and we're happy to do it.
It's true tragedy that you really see the human spirit and community. It's unfortunate that sometimes it takes a tragedy to see that. But best wishes to everybody in the region, from everybody. The support worldwide is, I'm sure, is there to be seen as well. But our support to everybody there.
We will continue to need your prayers for a long time, but we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight.
And George, just for people who are obviously just listening in, what's next for you, George? Is there anything big that we can expect coming out of George Foreman? We're not getting a third return to the ring by any chance, are we?
I don't know. There's a big guy. I can't think of his name now, but he's a karate expert. I'm trying to tell him to come out and box me again. Now, he did a lot of movies. His name escaped me. And we're going to fight and go to Las Vegas and make $300 million too.
I'd buy the pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, George, it's been an absolute honour. We don't want to hold you up anymore. It's an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much for taking the time. And continued best support to everybody there. And keep up the great work, my man.
Thanks again. Call me anytime, guys.
Cheers, George.
Cheers. Thanks a million,
Have
George.
a good one.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The great George Foreman. What an honour. What an honour.
Yeah, what an honour.
George Foreman.
That was excellent. That's unreal.
Let's move it on to somewhat a lesser guest. That's terrible. We don't mean that. But what an honour to talk to Big George Foreman. We all knew him. We all grew up to him. Right, it was before maybe a lot of our listeners' times. You've seen the tapes.
Everybody knows.
You've
who
seen
he is.
the rumble in the jungle. You've seen him put Joe Frazier down. You've seen him, the fights that this man was involved in. The word legend does get thrown around an awful lot.
68 knockouts.
68 knockouts.
That
76
he
wins.
has professionally. He has knocked out 68 people.
Well, he's knocked out a couple of times. But yeah,
very true.
So you all know George Foreman, and if you don't know him from the boxing world, I can guarantee you've eaten off the George Foreman grill. But yeah, thoughts and prayers are with everybody in the region, and George is helping that as well, and you can hear it in his voice, the upbeat. The Texans will not be beaten, but an absolute honour to talk to the great George Foreman. Tick it off the bucket list, Rob. You've just spoken to an absolute legend. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to obviously Fight Talk. We're going to be moving on to your quick fire news, but we did have to hit stop and sort of high five one another quite a bit and jump around, take a selfie, that sort of thing. Take a selfie with a still picture on the screen. But
nerds.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Love that.
To speak to somebody as great as the great big George Foreman. Wow. So Rob, quick fire news. Let's move it on and let's get 2 minutes on the clock. He's unprepared. His phone is in darkness. He hasn't done any of this. So
let's see if you can do it. Let's see if you can call out the news and me get this while you're doing
Ben
it.
Askren dominated Sebastian Kazakhstan at ONE FC on Saturday in his penuptial MMA fight, and now his opponent for his final fight has been announced in the form of BJJ specialist Rob. You'll like this fight, won't you?
What?
Who's he taking on in his final fight?
Oh, I forgot. Just because you can't say the name. I know it's a name that you wouldn't be able to say.
Shinya Aoki, yeah.
Shinya Aoki?
Yeah.
What news piece are you on?
Yeah, the top one. So,
all right.
Yeah, so he's taking on Shinya Aoki at the promotion's upcoming event in Singapore on November 24th. A rematch between strawweight champion Angelina Lee and Mi Yamaguchi was also announced for the event, a year since their 5-round classic where Lee won the title. But the big talking point here, Rob, is Ben Askren is bound out, so he's the sort of guy that almost the way Dana White was with Roy Nelson, but then Roy Nelson ended up fighting in the UFC. Ben Askren was the guy that never fought in the UFC that a lot of people were calling for, and Dana was trying to say it's because he's a boring fighter. But a dominant display again by Ben Askren at the weekend. So this is a weird because he hasn't fought in the UFC. How will he be remembered?
His legacy,
yeah,
it's going to be tarnished. Or tarnished mightn't be the right word. It's going to be impacted by the fact that he hasn't fought in the UFC. It just will. The UFC is seen as and is the biggest promotion in mixed martial arts. So the fact that he hasn't fought there, the fact that so many people haven't seen him fight, that's a problem. Like it just is. Like when you say to somebody who's the best welterweight in the world, and someone says Ben Askren, a lot of people will be like, who's Ben Askren? You know, they just don't know who he is. But he's an absolutely phenomenal fighter. I don't think it's...
Surprised by retirement? He's 33.
Yeah, slightly surprised, but he did talk about that. I know he's made a lot of money over in Japan, so that's not a huge surprise because, you know, apparently... I don't know, I just heard that he's not a huge fan of fighting. He likes the competition, but the whole fight part, who knows. But great fight, because if this does go to the ground, Shinya Aoki's an absolute beast off his back, beast on top. So it's an interesting fight. I would have liked to see Askren in the UFC, but who knows. And Angela Lee, she could be an absolute star. I don't see her staying with ONE FC for too much longer, unless the UFC just don't give her a decent contract, because if she goes to the UFC, she could be a star. She has that kind of quality.
I was surprised with Askren hanging them up. You know, as you said, he's doing very well over in Japan with one as well. But it's the pity. It is sad in a way. It's not, if you put it in a silly way with the football analogy, just because somebody isn't playing the Premier League doesn't mean they weren't a good footballer, or you know, because there are other leagues, and this is exactly it. You know, being a star in Japan, you see, like, I'm not comparing him to Bob Sapp, but you know what I mean. Phil Baroni said about John Jones, why doesn't he just go to Japan and become an absolute superstar over there? So plenty to be made over there. In an interview with Sports Illustrated, Tyron Woodley said that he would follow George St. Pierre to middleweight if GSP fights Bisping. Quote, my brother-in-law just asked me that question and I said, you know what? If St. Pierre wins, I'm going up there to fight him because you can't keep running from me. Do we like this potential matchup?
Yeah. Like it's probably the matchup, realistically, that should have happened. Now, do I think that St. Pierre would be hugely competitive in that fight? Maybe. Brendan will kill me.
I'm going to say, I'm going to tell.
I don't know. It depends on what GSP looks like when he comes back. But based on his last couple of fights, who knows? Tyron Woodley is probably, if not the best athlete in the UFC right now, he's one of the best athletes in the UFC right now.
So are you saying that George St. Pierre took the easy route by taking on Michael Bisping?
Not the easy route, but it is kind of a little bit questionable that he's gone to middleweight after he said for the longest time.
So vocally. But no, George St. Pierre always said he needs time to bulk up to go up.
That is very true.
Did you see the picture of him during the week?
No.
He looks beast.
Yeah.
Absolute jacked.
Yeah. So without reading into all that, just the whole point of the fight itself, I like it. It's probably the two best, you know, who knows what George St. Pierre looks like, but at least it's the two best welterweights right now, because George St. Pierre didn't lose the title. Mm-hmm. You know, it's hard to say he's the best welterweight, but he didn't lose the title, so it's the fight that made
Some
sense.
people say controversially Johnny Hendricks fight.
That's very true, but it's the fight that made sense for St. Pierre's return. So I do like the fight. At middleweight, it'd be a little bit strange.
I thought it was a weird fight, but at the same time, the fact that it's Bisping, I think if it was another champion maybe at middleweight, you might sort of question it. But the fact that it's Bisping, I think it makes more sense, because the two of them have been long servants in the UFC, and it's a fight that makes sense in so many ways. And Bisping, it's almost like he's getting his dream matchups, like he's picking the guys he wants to fight. And I don't have a problem with that. As we said at the time, it doesn't matter if George St. Pierre wanted to come back and take on Cyborg.
I agree.
He was such a long-standing champion in the UFC that if this is it, this is it. I just feel for the other guys that are getting dodged. Like, Woodley can't really cry over spilt milk. He's the champion of the welterweight division.
But that is clearly the biggest money fight in that division, and he's not getting it. Now, that's not anybody's fault. That's just, you know, George St. Pierre wants to go to middleweight, so yeah. Jose
Aldo is in the news. He recently told media that he wants to fight on the UFC 217 card in New York, citing that fighting at Madison Square Garden would be a dream come true. Would we like to see his return to MSG?
Yes. I thought you messed that up.
No.
Yeah, of course. Like, let's take away all the stuff that Jose Aldo has said in the past few weeks, and he's looked a little bit silly.
He denied that was him on Twitter doing the laughing faces, by the way. He said, I have people looking after my social media.
Well, that could be true, but like, if you have people looking after your social media, you should...
competent people.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. So, with disregarding all of that, Jose Aldo is still one of the best fighters in the world. He's so exciting to watch. His last couple of performances have been really, really good.
Who are you putting him in there against?
That's a tough one. That is a real tough one. I don't know. It's hard to say. I know he was linked with... I know the Lamas rematch was linked, and there was a couple of them. It's a tough one. I need to look at the actual division and see who's there.
Ricardo Lamas coming off a good victory as well, so that could make sense.
I wouldn't say no to a... and I said his last couple of fights were great performances. Obviously not his last one, Max Holloway. But I wouldn't mind seeing him taking a decent lightweight fight. Why not? Because there's no one in that division to fight. No, I hate when the likes of Jose Aldo, he's a big name. He's not the biggest name in the UFC, but you have him there. Like, there's no really point in him fighting some featherweight contender that he's probably just going to beat. Fight somebody at lightweight, you know.
Well, potentially Jose Aldo needs a win.
He does.
If you look at it, like, as you know what I mean, he obviously got done by Conor. Then Max Holloway, he got beat. Now I know he's had wins in between that as well. Like, he beat Frankie Edgar, for God's sake.
Well, what I'm just saying is that.
See the way I stopped myself in cursing there?
I know. Well done. What I'm saying is that right now nobody comes to mind. So if nobody comes to mind and there isn't really anyone available, don't throw him in there with like Nick Lentz or something like that. Don't do that. Just put him in there against somebody at lightweight who's, you know, that would be an exciting fight. Even if he wins that, it's still
good
for him.
Give me a name, like who? Johnson, Michael Johnson, something like that?
Yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. It's hard to say.
It'd have to be a ranked guy. Like,
it has to be. No. Someone in like the top 10 at least. But yeah, I can't wait to see him come back. 100%.
KSW released another fight for their Dublin card, their debut here on the shores of this beautiful country we call home. Rush Fight Academy's Paul Lawrence, who has a 3-1 professional record, will take on Konrad Moto Iwanski, 5-1 professional record in a welterweight bout. KSW 40 takes place at the 3 Arena in Dublin, Ireland on the 22nd of October 2017.
I think it's fitting that you go with this one because this is somebody who you've been talking about
for the
duration of this show.
Yeah, Paul Lawrence, man. Paul lost his last fight in Malta. Adam Cafferty was on that, so I remember Adam was saying he was going over to corner Paul. Paul, unfortunately, was on the end of a defeat that night. But Paul Lawrence, I'm a big fan of Paul. I've watched Paul. I've called Paul both professionally and amateur at shows. Big day. Excellent.
That was slightly delayed.
But yeah, Paul Lawrence is an absolute killer. He's serious power, great defensive wrestling. Paul reminds me in so many ways of Chuck Liddell, the way he uses that defensive wrestling, if you know what I mean. He's a big powerhouse, but he's going to have his hands full with Konrad Iwanski. Konrad came back at I think it was Clanmore 27, where he beat Chris Ray and looked amazing for it. And Konrad was away, I think it was through injury, for a long time. This is a great matchup. I'm really excited for this fight because, like, Paul can turn out anyone's lights. Konrad he is a grinder in wrestling his takedowns. Paul Lawrence's takedown defense will have to be on fire that night to stop Konrad. Normally when Konrad goes for a takedown, he gets a takedown. These are two very, very wealthy in experience at amateur and now coming up. Two of them have losses on their professional career, but don't look at that
Still
too
so
much.
Early in their career,
these two guys are absolute killers, and this is an incredible matchup. Two big, strong, powerful men. When you see the two of them in the cage on the night, you'll be looking at them going, holy shit, these two boys are big.
I'm really looking forward to this one.
This is a great fight.
I can't wait to see it because I've seen videos of Paul, I've seen his fights, but I haven't seen him live, and we'll probably end up covering this maybe.
Yeah, we will.
There's a good chance of it. But I'll tell you what, KSW it's an interesting card so far. There's not many fights officially announced.
The Park and Gamrot.
The Park and Gamrot fight, which is probably one of the bigger fights outside of the big organisations.
Charlie, he bit my finger. Don't be biting them now.
It is though. It's one of the bigger fights, and you have Mariusz Pudzianowski coming to Ireland. Mariusz, the bodybuilder guy, bodybuilder, coming to Ireland to fight James McSweeney. So he's an attraction.
Wow, and it's James McSweeney.
Yeah, so
just those McSweeney doesn't do that. Remember he done that to Ryan Elson.
Yeah,
didn't go well. Bama announced the Lonsdale lightweight title bout. I'm going to start that again. Yeah. Bama have announced a Lonsdale lightweight title fight for Bama's return to Dublin on the 10th of November. Defending champion Tim Barnett facing off against SBG's Ireland's Richie Smullen. The news came days before Rhys McKee announced his mutual release from the organisation. McKee and Smullen fought to a draw at Bama's last show here in Dublin. So a couple of things. Do you like the fight? First, this was not the last show, the show previous when Richie Smullen won. Coach Kavanagh and Paddy Houlihan were on the broadcast and they were saying they can't wait for Richie to get his hands on Barnett. Barnett had just won against Rude Boy, I think it was, wasn't it? And the lads were saying that fight didn't happen. Rhys McKee took on Richie Smullen and what many people are calling fight of the year. We didn't all get to see it till about 6 weeks later because it was pulled from the stream and it wasn't shown on the broadcast.
We've got some highlights.
Very weird decision. But yeah, Richie Smullen getting Barnett, like this is, Tim Barnett, he's being sort of caught in the crossfire. Not that there's much crossfire, but he's being caught in he's the champion. He's waiting for the number one contender. Smullen and McKee fought to a draw. So I find it weird.
It's very weird
that one of the guys who fought for the draw got the title fight. You'd swear they'd rematch. Whatever it is, obviously stuff goes behind closed doors. I still think it's a great fight. Tim Barnett has been on the show with us a good few times now at this stage. Great guy, great champion, fights well, speaks like he's an absolute role model for any fighter to look at. But he's got his hands full with Smullen. We all know Smullen on the ground, but one thing Smullen done was he showed a lot on his feet against Rhys McKee as well. In
That's
the
where
last
people
fight.
were surprised.
And Rhys McKee showed a lot on the ground against Smullen, so it was a great fight. I would have loved to see Smullen and McKee go again, if I'm perfectly honest. A draw is always unsettling. It's always like, it just doesn't sit well with me, you know what I mean? It's like people who leave that much in their pints. I don't understand that. Nor a new one. Drink the thing. But what do you think? The buzzer's going to go, but I think we can give ourselves a minute or two to talk about this. Were you surprised by?
I'll go back a little bit. There we go.
Were you surprised by Rhys McKee? Now, Rhys he did do an article with a friend
interview
over
with Fight Store.
But I was like, I remember when
I was taken aback by it.
When Rhys came into Bama, he took a short notice fight, 2 weight classes up against just getting on with Johnny Jitsu.
Yeah.
He took a fight against John Redmond, finished John in the first round. He then had a change of opponent for his I think there was 2 or 3, and it was Alex Mizuku. I think his second fight was.
It was a late notice. He was supposed to fight
Paul
Lawrence.
It was Paul Lawrence. Paul Lawrence. He was meant to fight.
It was Paul Lawrence.
Paul Lawrence, right. And then Alex Mizuku came in, and then Rhys won the belt. Rhys became the champion. Lost in his first defence in Belfast to Tim Barnett. Then fought with Smullen thing. So Rhys, for me, I remember talking to Rhys and I was going, me man, everything you've done. When he won the title, I'm like, you are, you know what I mean, their golden boy here at the moment. I remember talking to Rhys going, like, the things you've done, you've taken light notice fights, you've done this, the fights you've done, you've won the title, man, you are in such position. And I was surprised. The reason I'm saying this is Niall McGrath on Talking Brawls done a great interview with Andy Ryan of Team Rhino. And Andy was sort of talking about Bama's treatment of Redzer.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Norman Park, if you remember, spoke about his treatment when he fought against Redzer in Belfast. The hotels, and Rhys McKee was the same. So there's a few rumblings, and I think it's weird that a promotion like Bama, who are, between themselves, Cage Warriors, and then, of course, KSW coming in as well to this market over here. Like, Rhys McKee is a bright, bright star, and I was very surprised that they let him go. Now, that's not to say Rhys won't come back. I think Rhys is quoted as saying, so again, allegedly, I have to say that because I'm not 100% sure. I think Rhys is quoted as saying he'd never sign a multi-fight deal with them again. So that would mean that he potentially could sign a one-fight deal with them.
Yeah, of course.
In order to shop around. There's plenty of fighters that have done that. The likes of fighters like Blaine O'Driscoll spring to mind. They've fought on BAM and they fought on Cage Warriors and stuff like that. So, they're just signing single deals. But I was very, very surprised that Rhys McKee was let go by Bama. Never mind that he's gone, but I was surprised that Bama didn't fight for Rhys McKee, because I honestly think he's a special talent, along with Richie Smullen. I think the Richie Smullen Rhys McKee could have been a huge fight for them in Dublin.
Yeah, 100%. I was really
or even in Belfast, Dublin or Belfast. Yeah, it would have been a huge fight.
I was really taken aback by it just because of the whole situation. Like, sometimes when you look at the decision made by the likes of BAMA or Cage, where it's kind of the smaller organisation, regional promotions, European promotions, you don't really put it in perspective of if this happened in, say, the UFC or Bellator or wherever. Like, they fought to a draw.
Yeah.
But then one guy gets a title shot. When that fight was billed as a number one contender fight, that has to put the other guy who doesn't get the title fight, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
That can't
take
go down well.
Out. Just say X and Y.
Exactly.
X and Y are in a number one contender fight. They draw and Y gets the title shot.
And that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all. So I'm not surprised that Rhys departed from Bama. Again, he said it was mutual and whatnot.
I think he had fights left in his contract as well.
Yeah,
and his management.
He did come out and he did say that he was disappointed by the decision from Bama. And then, when we had him on as well, if you want to go back, I think it was our last interview with Rhys, it probably was, when he was talking about the show or the fight not being shown on TV or The
Uni
lad boy,
Uni
lad.
How disappointed.
How disappointed he was, and that's not surprising either, because he would have told people that you can watch it here. That's huge exposure for him. So
me and you were texting one another, and we were going, are you watching the McKee fight? And I'm like, no, it's showing Dylan Logan. I said, Dylan Logan's walking out.
I was like, what, that happened?
And I was like, that fight was earlier, and then I was like, what? And then I went on Twitter, and Petey Carroll was tweeting, oh my god, what a fight, what a fight, what a fight.
For the updates.
But for me, obviously they want their champion Tim Barnett to be active. You know what I mean? He showcased serious talent in all his fights in Bama. But for me, if you take Barnett out of the equation, Smullen and McKee was gold.
Yeah.
You have the first fight to build that off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The fight that you didn't see.
The fight that we didn't we were robbed of a decision of. You know what I mean? They had...
Or robbed of seeing.
Yeah, robbed of seeing, yeah. It was just weird that they have... I honestly think... It's like Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor. It's like 1-1 now. Everybody wants to see 3. Yeah. Now, obviously, it's... So that's a draw. Yeah. So everybody wants to see the victor. Everybody wants to see who gets it. It was incredible. Like, I've watched the full fight since.
Same.
It was an incredible fight. So they have that to play off.
Yeah.
I just find it weird.
But he signed with KSW. Let's see who he gets.
Has he signed with KSW?
As far as I know, he has.
I think it's rumoured. I'm not too sure of it.
I thought he signed with KSW.
May not come. Yeah, but with fair play to Reese as well. If it was rumoured. Yeah, if Reese is gone somewhere else, best of luck, and hopefully it brings his career on even further. But I just think it's something that us fans have missed out on. Was getting to see Smullen and McKee again, because it was an incredible fight. Yeah. You never know. If Smullen was to beat Tim Barnett, you never know. They could bring Reese back to fight. Smullen for the title, you don't know that. Again, you could argue, well, Tim Barnett should get a rematch, but we're talking about possibilities and ifs and ands and buts. But I just think it's weird that they did not use what they have a backstory to this fight. Yeah. Like a lot of fights on the regional scene, like the European, like these fights, you know the two guys, but there's not a great backstory to. Yeah. Like, the lads were insanely respectful to one another. They're true martial artists. They were so respectful to one another. You expect nothing else coming from SBG fighter and an ex-Gen fighter anyway. But there was this story behind. So it's like somebody telling you a long joke. You know, like when you go see a comedian, he tells a long story, and just as he's getting to the punchline, goes, "Thanks, Dublin," and goes, what?
Yeah, and as well, like, you have to understand that promotions like BAM and Cage Warriors, again, I'll say all those kind of regional... lower level promotions.
Well, they're not lower level. They're big European shows.
Yeah, lower level in terms of the UFC and those huge shows. What I mean is, they have a certain amount of resources they can look to. They don't have unlimited people. They can't just say, Reese McKee is gone, we can just bring in someone else. Because Reese McKee is a name in Ireland. He's a name. People, like, he's probably top 5 name right now in Ireland. Like, exciting prospect. I think that's fair to say. Yeah. So it's letting people go like that. Again, we don't know what happened in the background, but letting people go like that, and especially when you have a built-in match with not just Richie Smullen,
but you also have the built-in with Tim Barnett.
Exactly.
The rematch.
So it's a weird one. It's a very weird situation, and it's unfortunate because even if he does sign with KSW, we probably won't see that Tim Barnett rematch, which when that fight happened and Tim Barnett
you never know, you could see it under a three-letter promotion.
You could.
But what's weird about it is as well, at one point, is that with... Oh, time out. There's a clock. It's 6:30, people, if you're watching. With the fight, with the three of them, they have so many options because of that tree.
Exactly, and without the tree,
I'm sure Reese was a little disheartened by Smullen getting the fight.
100%.
Never mind that. Whoever wins that fight between Smullen and Barnett, there's straight away a match there for Reese. Yeah. No matter what.
Exactly. No matter what the result is. It doesn't matter what the result is.
There's 3 there, so there was 2 matchups
and you never
easily
know.
Made.
Who knows? He could re-sign. But
yeah, interesting. But yeah, best of luck
to everybody.
Tim Barnett and Richie Smullen is an incredible fight.
Yeah, can't wait for that.
I can't wait. We will be there covering, and I can't wait to watch that fight. An incredible fight.
That was a long 2 minutes.
That was a long 2 minutes. But let's push ahead. We're going to move on. I think we're just going to have to talk briefly about UFC Rotterdam here, Rob. So I was on duty at Clan Wars 29. I'll hit that a little bit of conversation about that later. But UFC Fight Night 115 went on in Rotterdam, and you were pretty impressed, Rob, with the main event.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really good fight, just considering that Volkov's last couple of fights, and I rated Volkov quite well coming into the UFC, as far as I remember. But his last couple of fights in the UFC, his kind of debut and his fights leading to this one, haven't been that exciting. They just haven't. He's looked okay, he's looked good, he's won the fights, but they haven't been that exciting. This one was an interesting one because
his fight with Roy Nelson was a good fight.
It was a good fight, but they weren't like... He doesn't have some huge finishes yet. He doesn't have all that. Yeah. Now, this fight it came, but I thought this was interesting because you have these two huge guys. I think it's billed now as the biggest fight.
6'11" against 6'7".
I think Struve versus Travis Brown was the previous tallest combined fight, and now it's this one. And I thought it was very, very interesting seeing that kind of, not even clash of styles, because usually you watch Struve and he's against really smaller guys. So I think in this one he showed off a little bit more for me. He used his jab later in the fight, but traditionally Struve just doesn't use his jab. He doesn't really use the range that he has. And even though Volkov is big, he just doesn't have that range that Struve has. But I thought it was a really, really good fight. I was impressed with Volkov. I think we have a kind of a little bit of a dark horse in the division. Struve, he's been knocked out a couple of times now. I'm not saying, hang up the gloves.
Well, of course, he came back from that.
He had the
heart condition.
Yeah, heart condition as well. But yeah,
he was getting rocked, wasn't he? You can see. I thought Struve started the fight very well.
He did. He probably won the first round.
Yeah, he was thrown. That is just because of his size. That uppercut that he was thrown. He kept. He goes to the good bit, the flying knee.
Yeah.
But I felt he was putting himself more in danger when he was thrown that. But what you reckon of the eye pokes? The eye pokes were insane.
Yeah, I thought that Struve should have been deducted a point on the second one, personally, especially with the new rules.
Yeah.
The new rules, I think you're supposed to get a warning first and then the second one.
Yeah.
I think Mark Goddard, not that he made a mistake, but I think he made a mistake. Yeah. No, I do think it was. The third one was unfortunate because it was both of them. Yeah. And then if you deduct a point from Struve, there's always going to be controversy there. But I do think a point should have been deducted. I know Volkov came out and said that he thought Struve was fighting a bit dirty as well.
I noticed as well the way he did say they fought dirty. Yeah. I thought when Volkov seen that Struve was hurt, he really went for the kill and he picked up the pace.
Great finish.
And his shot selection in that was superb.
Very, very good finish.
But I thought, do you know what? I have to be honest, and I know I'm always, they might not be hype-sold names, and I always go that card, but I wasn't that excited by the main event.
No.
And I was coming home, I was on the 145 coming home from town that I stood at the wrong bus stop for 10 minutes for. Gobshite. But got on the bus and stuck on Mobro and watched it illegally streamed. Nice. But watched it coming home on the bus, and I was impressed. It was a great fight. Struve, when Struve gets hit, though, his whole body rocks back, doesn't it? It's just again the size. But I thought it was a great win for Volkov. And moving on, as you said, could be a dark horse. Who'd you put him in there next against, though, Rob?
I know a lot of people were calling for Francis Ngannou, and I don't hate that fight. Right. I don't hate that fight. I think, who else are you going to put Francis Ngannou in there with?
Well, Alistair Overeem was saying he'd be interested in a fight.
Yeah, I like that fight. I think Volkov versus Ngannou was a good fight. I really do like it.
Run, Alistair. Run. He literally will as well. But the other fight that really stood out, Darren Till looked absolutely phenomenal.
Darren Till, he wants to fight Ponzinibbio next to see who's the best striker in that division.
15-0 he moves it, and he looked insanely
he's impressive, isn't he? He's really, really impressive. It's definitely a guy. It's a guy I've been watching for quite a bit now. And just what a performance. Really, really well-rounded performance. Excellent striker. There's not too much we can say there, but he's great. I thought the Sierra Badazada fight versus Rob Wilkinson was a decent fight. Wilkinson coming in, debut. Sierra moving up in weight. A lot of people were talking about that move up in weight. He said that it was just because he was coming back from the injury. He wanted to fight and he didn't think he could make the weight, so fair enough. Definitely don't think he should stay at that weight, though. He did look undersized. He still looked powerful and strong. He threw Rob around, but I just think that if you looked at him, he looked out of shape. He gassed probably early in the second, although even down in the weight class he kind of gasses as well. But again, he has serious power. Even for the division, he has serious power, and I was impressed enough with him. He was a good prospect coming into the UFC. He kind of lost a bit of steam, but now coming back, hopefully we see the best of.
Talking about prospects, Rob, and the hype is starting to really gather. Marbek Taisimov.
Knockout king.
Philippe Silva was coming forward. He was in a straight, but he was throwing a combination, and he threw a right hook. But as he threw the right hook, am I saying it right? Taisimov, yeah, it sounds right. Taisimov, he just sort of weaved under it like a nice little under the hook and came over and boom. It was dare you say it, it was Conor-esque the way Silva fell to the floor against the way Jose Aldo fell when Conor landed. But wow, what a knockout. And I was on Reddit today, as you do be, as you're working insanely hard. Yes. You click on Reddit. But his last 5 fights, man, it was shown the knockouts. And wow, insane that the height, you got to give him a ranked guy now, surely, with this power and the finishing. And the thing is that the UFC, they want stars, they want finishes. You know, we all like to see a great fight, but you like seeing finishes as well. And my God, what an absolute devastating finish. And I urge you to go onto Reddit. It's on there, you'll see it, just his last 5. And it just literally a 5-minute video of his knockouts. And by God, that man hits like an absolute truck.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
The reason why I'm scrolling here, I am listening to you, but the reason why I'm scrolling is I'm trying to find a fight that I didn't see because I didn't get to see the whole lot of the undercard, because I had business to do. But there was one fight.
That sounds like you're a drug dealer.
Yeah,
I had some business to do.
But there was one fighter, and I don't know who it was. I'm gonna guess it was your man Zabit Magomedsharap.
Are you going to talk about the
Showtime kick?
Was that not? Was it not? I don't know who it was. I don't.
To be honest, I can't remember.
It was either Rustam Kabalov or...
It wasn't Kabalov.
No.
Definitely wasn't Kabalov. So I seen that. I'm just pointing that out. If you can check that fight out, because the minute I go home, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to check that fight out.
Yeah,
there was a Showtime kick. Yeah. There was a high kick with no read. Caught his leg, great balance. Landed a knee while his leg was caught. It was beautiful stuff. I can't wait to watch that fight.
I have to be honest, because I was on duty, I only seen a couple of fights we talked about at the top, so I have to look back over the fights, and that's a midweek job for me.
Yes, sir.
But it was great that MMA was back, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and it was. Ironically, here we are saying MMA, and we were talking to George Foreman earlier. You know what I mean? So, but we were talking MMA with George. But yeah, it was back, and it's back this weekend as well, Rob, with UFC 215.
Funny you say that.
This is a unbelievable card. So of course we're going to get the best in the business to come on and talk about it. So we are now joined by Brendan Dorman, the breakdown UFC 215. Boom. So welcome back to obviously Fight Talk, and if you're watching on the tube of you will see, and if you're listening on a listening device, you are about to hear. We are now joined, we're not saying he's the best, we're just saying there's nobody better. Brendan Dorman, welcome back, my man, to obviously Fight Talk.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
We've gone Ron Burgundy again. We're looking ahead to UFC 215. It is a stacked card. It feels like finally, I know the card went down at the weekend, but it's finally we've got a big card to get our teeth into, to talk about, to break down. So let's start at the opening bout of the main event, where we see who the fuck is that guy, Jeremy Stephens, take on Gilbert Melendez. This is a big fight.
He'll never shake it. He'll never shake that joke. Continue.
No, he never will. He never will. Look, sure, I was just that guy who done it. Yeah. But Jeremy Stevenson currently on a 2-fight losing streak, and Gilbert Melendez currently on a 3-fight losing streak. So this is a pretty big and important fight for both fighters, almost for their contracts more than anything. But looking at the fight, Brendan, what's your initial thoughts on it?
I think you've got kind of contrasting styles in that Gilbert's kind of he's like a pressure fighter with a great chin and a lot of heart, although I think that saying is a little loaded, but he can take one, whereas Stephens throws bombs. But what you're going to see is, I think Stephens used to fight at 155, right? And
yes.
But he recently cut to 145, let's say, within the last year or so.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly with him, but I know this is Gil's first fight at 145.
That's
so
correct, yeah.
I mean, he never looked like, Arnold in the Conan movies, but we'll see how he cuts weight. You know what I mean? Because he was never all that, svelte looking. So I'm sure he could have found 10 pounds somewhere. I think you just have kind of you have someone who might be a little more ring savvy, a little better on the ground in Gilbert, and you have a really hard hitter in Stephens who makes no apologies about swinging for the fence. But Gilbert, you gotta hit. If you remember his what was it, Diego Sanchez fight? You guys remember that fight?
Yeah.
I mean, that was ridiculous. It was like a street fight with two guys high on cocaine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was madness. So I can see that. I can see some pretty crazy exchanges. I doubt that fight will be boring. I really do. I don't know who I favor. I favor the. Usually I take a vet and kind of an even thing, but it's Gilbert's first cut, which is a little interesting. They both have really good training partners. I don't know. I could see it going either way, but I definitely see it being exciting. It could be one of those kind of stalwarts, but let's just kind of hope not, I guess.
In fairness to both fighters, Melendez, his 3 losses have come against Barboza, Eddie Alvarez, and Anthony Pettis. So he's not in there.
Yeah, 0 shame there.
Yeah, he's not in there with anyone who, you know what I mean, you could say, oh my God, how did he lose to him? And then on the other side, you have Stevenson has lost to Caminero and Frankie Edgar. I agree in a way that Jeremy Stevenson, he throws the kitchen sink into every shot he throws. He throws to finish the fight. The fight that really stands out for me, Jeremy Stevenson, is against Dennis Bermudez. That flying knee finish where he just jumped up and landed it. The technique was crisp to do it in the time when it was an absolute brawl right up against the cage. After that, he got beaten by Max Holloway again. No shame in that.
No.
But for me, this is Gilbert Melendez. Brennan, we've spoke about this loads of times about the expiry date of that, the expiry date of the chin. He is known. I think the weight cut is going to be huge here. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Like, Gil never looked like, the shredded guy in the cage.
He wasn't that guy.
He almost looks like the guy who's having a few beers in the bar and a fight break out and you're in the car park and he takes his top off and let's go, motherfucker. But I just think
Carl Doran.
Yeah, I just think terrible. I just think the cut is going to be a big thing, and especially with the chin, because we know Stevenson's power down at featherweight as well is there. It's there to see. He's knocked guys out with it. But if Melendez can weather that storm and take it and keep a high pace in the fight, I think that's where Gil will prosper again, depending on how good the weight cut goes.
I do think the weight cut is a big one because, and someone I look similar, and not similar because Anthony Pettis doesn't have the body type of Gilbert Melendez, but he was a guy at lightweight who you'd look at and you'd say, yeah, he's not that big. He could probably make featherweight if he tried. And when he tried to make featherweight, Duke apparently said, no, let's stop this weight cut because this is getting bad. So I just hope that it doesn't turn out that way, because you see a lot of guys, say like Daniel Cormier, who struggles to get to light heavyweight, and he doesn't look like he should struggle to get to light heavyweight. It's just his body type. Maybe he retains water differently. It's the chemistry of the body in a way. So I just hope that's not a bad weight cut. And if it's not a bad weight cut, I'd probably favour Gilbert Melendez in this one. Because I think he sets up his shots a little bit better than Stevens. Stevens will come forward and he'll look for that one big shot. Sometimes he'll try to set them up, sometimes he won't. But the difference between Melendez and Diego Sanchez in their fight was that Melendez set up his shots, whereas Diego was just swinging. He was looking for that big shot. And if it gets into that kind of firefight, I think that it could be a similar situation where Melendez will set up his shots and Stevens will try to get that big home run shot and try to get the job done. So I think the weight cut is a big important one in this one as well.
The bookies are quite close on it. If you're going to paddypower.com, in decimals they have Jeremy Stevenson as 1.8 and they have Melendez as 1.9.
You went with the wrong odds again.
I know,
for Brendan.
but that's what... Well,
it's okay.
Brendan's bloody... He's over there with their weird betting of odds and under and over, yeah. But just Stevens a slight favourite. So again, I think that's fair with the fact that he's more versed at that weight class. He's fighting there, I think, since 2013. So maybe that has an outcome on, but I'd pick. The pick is weird. I'd go with Melendez if the cut goes well. If it's a bad cut,
if I was going to make an official pick, which we do on the show, but if I was going to make an official pick, I'd like to wait to see the weight cut, to see what he looks like on the scales.
Yeah.
But I'll go out on a limb. I'll pick Melendez just for what I said. But if he looks like a skeleton up on the scale, or he just looks drained, then that pick will change quickly.
I expect though with the camp he's in.
Well, Pettis is in a great camp too, and his weight cut went terrible. It's just, it can happen.
True.
Let me make 2 quick points on that one, because you guys brought things up that I think are interesting. Yeah. I'll be fast. Gilbert is very technical while not looking technical with his hands. Don't forget his wife is like a world championship level kickboxer. He's much like the Diaz brothers in that their striking doesn't necessarily look finesse. It's not this beautiful, Conor movement, like where everything Conor does looks like he's almost dancing, or Floyd for that matter, or Roy Jones in his prime. Like there's certain people, they have a movement to him that's all. John Jones, when he's on, it's very graceful almost, right? Whereas the Diaz brothers and even Gil to some extent, it's not necessarily this beautiful, like, it's not like that. It's really not, but it's shot selection, experience, really good sparring partners, phenomenal ground game. He's got excellent jiu-jitsu. And then the second addendum would be on the weight cut. You were talking about the expiration date on the chin, Noel?
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing to keep in mind, you guys might know this, but for the people that may not, is that how knockouts really happen. We always talk about the chin, but it's really not your chin. There's no pressure point on your chin. There's this one I know we've talked about it before, but it's really this motion. When your mouth's open and you're tired, that's why when a mouthpiece flies out, a lot of times often you'll see that. It's actually how fast your brain moves in your head, and it short circuits, right? Now, bear in mind, when you cut weight, it's all fluid, right? So if that little bit of fluid in your brain is somehow then thinned down, if you're dehydrated enough, like if someone right before they got to the scale were to get hit with like a backhand, you might be able to knock them out because they don't have that preservation sac between their actual brain and their actual skull. So, to your chin point, right? Because Pettis never got finished from strikes until Holloway. Keep that in mind. So those things are relative. I think those are both really good bring-ups by you guys. Anyway.
No, we agree.
Dropping signs with Brendan Dorman.
I agree, we're great. Your next bout of the evening sees a light heavyweight bout between Ilir Latifi and Tyson Pedro. This is a fight of big heavy hitters. Pedro coming off a great victory over Paul Craig at UFC in Scotland. That was in Scotland, wasn't it?
It was indeed, I think. Yeah, it was indeed, yeah.
No, Woodley Thompson too, actually, it says. Sorry. Wrong. And then Latifi, his last fight was actually a defeat to Ryan Bader. So Latifi's been out of action since September of last year. So Latifi he's dangerous, isn't he? He's a heavy hitter, like
scrappy.
That fight in Dublin the night McGregor branded out Chris Dempsey, holy lamb of Jesus, the finish he put on Chris Dempsey. But how do we see this one, Brendan? What's your thoughts on this one, my man?
I think I've watched a little film on both of them. I recall a lot of Latifi's fights. That one, unlike the other one, I don't want to put my stamp of approval as far as excitement level. That could be a slow grind. Both of them seem content to go for takedowns and try to do damage. What's his name there?
Pedro.
Tyson Pedro guy. There's not much to go on with him in the UFC anyway. With Latifi, he's just had an absence. Latifi was, I think, a European trials Abu Dhabi either finalist or...
I think he might be right.
He's very high level as a grappler. It's just a matter of getting there. And if both of them are favoring that, then I think Pedro has a background in maybe like Kempo or something, some kind of striking. I'm not positive, but I haven't seen it. You know what I mean? Like I've read it, but I haven't seen his movement give me any indication that he's good on his feet. Latifi has power on his feet, but he's, again, we could go back to the not exactly moving like a ballerina out there. I think you go with the experienced guy, although 205 desperately needs things to happen. I thought Saki was going to fight on this card, if not the next, like something over, in this area or this time. He should be about ready to go. Gokhan Saki would have been fun. But 205 just seems starving. You know what I mean? So
big time.
Hopefully one of them wins in convincing fashion and looks better than they have in the past or whatever.
Well, Pedro's, he has 6 professional fights and he's finished all 6 fights. 2 by way of TKO or knockout and 4 by submission choke. So, he is a finisher. It's there. Yes, 2 of them have only been in the UFC. So to what caliber, can you really justify them wins too? Latifi his fights tend to finish as well. I think his last one was Jean Valente that went the distance. Apart from that, he does have finishing on him. So I know what you're saying. Both their styles could nullify one another.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's more that.
Yeah,
you know?
hopefully we have a little bit of a finish. But I like Latifi. I don't know what it is. I think, do you know what it, I know.
You know what it is.
I know what it is.
Yeah.
I was at the fight. I seen him finish, and I was chatting to him after. And you know when you sort of have that, you have to feel it. You sort of follow the guy and you wish his career well. So that's what
I go through this weekly. When people like retweet one of my breakdowns, it's the fighter. I'm like, I guess we're friends now.
Yeah, we got it.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But,
go do karate in the garage.
Think of all the activities.
Yeah.
But that's what for me with Latifi. That's when I seen it. I was chatting to him. He was such a nice guy. But yeah, he has such potential there as well. So
yeah, and I think as well, looking back at his last fight, I thought he was doing pretty well against Ryan Bader. He ran into that. He ran into that knee. And that's not to say that Bader probably wouldn't have won the fight. He probably would have. But I thought he was really, really competitive against Ryan Bader, who is a good fighter in that division. Yep. He also has some good wins. He has a win over John Valente. It was a bit, hot and cold, but he's a good name.
Destroyed Sean O'Connell. And
don't forget Ryan Bader was
top guy
on a killer mission, like a savage mission, and happened to run into the Superman of 205 minus DC's kryptonite in Rumble, and that was just a one-sided. What Rumble did to everyone not named Daniel Cormier, and that just seemed to really stop him in his path a tad, But Bader back then was on fire, don't forget that.
I think as well the experience that you brought up, Brendan, I think that's going to be important because 6-0, it's not a whole lot of fights in the UFC, and as well only 2 fights in the UFC. But if you look at his last couple of fights, you could see the inexperience against some of those guys. Now I do think Paul Craig is a good win, but you could definitely see the inexperience there, especially on the not even on the feet, but kind of transitions from the feet to the ground.
Yes.
That's where I think he's going to have problems because Latifi,
he wasn't overhooking properly.
Exactly,
he wasn't using head control properly. Those are like
mistakes. It was just
those
like
are things you kind of iron out in the gym.
Exactly, it just doesn't look like he's at that level where he's putting it all together, and I think that's where he's going to have problems because I do think he's going to try to get it to the ground. I think Latifi will be happy to stay on the feet with that experience. I think he'd be happy to win rounds, but I think if Pedro doesn't get it down, and he hasn't really shown the ability to at this level, especially a guy like Latifi, who's not a huge guy in terms of size, as in height, but he's a big guy, and he has a low center of gravity. Low center of gravity, difficult to take down. So I think that could be a problem. That's why I'm leaning towards Latifi. But these guys who are really like 6-0, who knows how good they're going to get? Who knows how good they got from their last fight to now? Yeah. So it's hard to pick, but I'm going to go with Latifi for the experience, as Brendan said.
No, I would, because I'm team Latifi. He spoke to me.
He also
best friends.
held a hurl. Remember, he held a hurl in Dublin.
That's right. Yeah. He held a hurl. He spoke to me. Best friends.
He held a what?
A hurl. Do you know what a hurl is? Did you ever hear this?
A whore?
Hurl. H-U-R-L.
H?
H.
Oh, we're finding all kinds of shit out about each
Hurl.
other. H.
H.
Like the letter H?
Yeah.
You said H.
H.
You're adding all kinds of shit to a letter. Like you're making a letter a word.
H.
Moving on. We'll talk later about this.
Yeah. Hurling is a national sport of Ireland, Brendan.
Yeah.
Is it?
Do you know what the ball is called?
Did you say hurling?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Hurling.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. The ball is called a schlitter.
A schlitter?
A schlitter.
He said that very well, didn't he?
We have whores and shitters. Awesome.
You got it. First time you got it right.
Yeah, perfect. But hey, let's talk about fighting. Since we're a fight show.
Yeah.
Your next fight sees the former lightweight champion Rafael Dos Anjos taking on Neil Magny. It is at welterweight. It's RDA's second walk at welterweight. So, how do we fancy the former champion's chances against Neil Magny?
Love that fight.
Yeah.
Love that fight. This is going to be RDA's test at 170.
Big time.
Should be, right? He's a guy that made a lot of sense to move up post USADA. I think he made pretty serious cuts to 155.
Yeah.
Which was evident especially like when he beat Pettis and he was on that run where he beat Henderson and everyone else. But USADA, whatever. I'm not saying he was a cheat. I don't know him well enough. But it looked like the cut was extreme. Right? So now at a more natural 170, it looks like he's pretty comfortable in his bulk, hasn't lost speed per se. And he's better than a lot of people think, although he has shown signs of being chinny. Both of them are cardio monsters. So the chances that it's like, not, pretty high paced is going to be kind of slim to none. Magny can take a beating. So even if Dos Anjos, say, picks him apart in the first round, you can't sleep on Magny to come out and pull off some, Gumby submission in the second round. It's very, very coin flip, and I think it'll be very telling where both of them are in their career. It's a wicked litmus test of a fight, and it should be fascinating because their styles are really kind of nothing alike.
Yeah,
Magny's very good with range, being unorthodox, as we kind of talk about often. RDA is more like he's very technically sound. All those like King's MMA guys, they're all like very throw like the Dutchie all the time. He doesn't jab too much. He's awesome at like using body work, flying knees. His grappling's excellent. His shot selection's great. But when you're going against someone a little bit awkward who pulls off crazy like stuff he almost shouldn't be on the ground in Magny, it's just it's a fascinating little stylistic matchup. I think experience nod kind of goes to RDA. Obviously, he was a champ, but not in that division. So that almost nullifies.
I completely agree. I think what you said about it being like a litmus test for RDA, I think that's a great point because sometimes, like I know he's gone up to this weight, it's the second time, and he fought Tarek Saffiedine. He was not a huge guy.
It was a close fight.
Yeah, it was a close fight. But I think with this one, sometimes when you see guys going up in weight, I find that they're put in there with somebody who's like extremely talented. I'm not saying Magny isn't talented, he's very talented, but like extremely talented and big. And you don't know what was the deciding factor.
It's not
sometimes,
Gustafsson, in other words, though.
Yeah, sorry?
It's not like Gustafsson, in other words.
Yeah, it's like you can in this fight. I think skill for skill. I think we've seen RDA compete. I think he can compete with Magny skill for skill. So I think it's going to be a good litmus test to see can he deal with that size. So I think it's an important
I think
point.
reach is a huge thing here. Magny has a 10-inch reach advantage.
Yeah.
That's like Dal. Yeah, it's basically Dal Sim fighting Blanket. That's what's going on here. Street Fighter reference.
Is Young the Flame allowed? Did they say?
But no, there is a huge reach disadvantage for RDA. So he's got to work and get
What's
in.
his reach? Do you have it in front of you, bud?
Yeah, reach is 80-inch reach to a 70-inch.
Well,
reach.
80 inches is insane.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Magny's. That's insane. Wow.
For welterweight. That's
And again, like
170, he has an 80-inch reach. That's bananas.
and
I have a
leg.
crazy reach only because I have wide shoulders. Mine's like 74, 75.
Leg reach is 45
madness.
against 38. Leg reach 45 against 38. So it's a big. And again, I think
I know. It's almost like
these tools will come in on the ground as well. As in he can snatch up these peculiar submissions that he pulls out due to his long dexterity and the sheer nature of pulling these
One
off.
important point as well on the ground. RDA is phenomenal on the ground.
Yeah.
An absolute beast of a black belt. But he has been put on the ground and he has been beat up a few times.
Yeah.
We have to remember that. We have to remember when he does go on his back. He is tricky there, but he has been beat up. He was beat up by when I get it.
Nope.
I can think of one. Some Russian guy happened.
I know Jim Miller beat him up on the ground as well. He did hurt his jaw. I'm pretty sure his jaw.
When was that? 1974?
Yeah, no, it's 71.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. But when he has shown when he's on his back, he has been beat up before. And Magny...
Yeah, he's a top game kind of black belt.
Yeah, absolutely. But like Magny, who has serious ground and pound, that reach, like if he's in RDA's guard, he's going to be able to land from there. He doesn't have to pass guard to land. Like
we've talked about before, even from full guard, you're not safe at all. I think you're talking about Khabib's ragdoll session. But.
Yeah, Jesus, yeah. But yeah, it's an excellent fight. I think it's very interesting.
It's for RDA, the former champion. In a way, I think it's good because you get the champions coming up and they go straight away into title contention number 1. Yeah. I think this is a really Magny is ranked 6th in the UFC at the minute, so this is a great fight for RDA. He knows where he stands with this, and potentially if RDA comes through this, you're looking at a top 5 matchup and potential number 1 contendership fight. We've seen how well the likes of Cowboy has done with the move up as well. So obviously they've shared the cage together as well. So you can see why RDA could be looking maybe at the success that Donald Cowboy Cerrone has had and thought, hold on, I finished this guy in the first round. So let's replicate that and let's take the move
since
up.
2004. 2014. The only guys that Magny has lost to is Damian Maya and Lorenz Larkin. That's it.
Yeah.
Since 2014.
No shame in those.
No shame.
You know?
And if you look as well at who he's beaten, Kelvin Gastelum,
yeah.
Eric Silva, Hector Lombard, Johnny Hendricks.
Lombard.
You know, so
Hendricks.
Yeah.
Those are serious wins.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, some of them would have been better 3 years ago or 4 years ago, but I mean, that doesn't in any way disparage Magny's accomplishments. He's fantastic. And you said something that I wanted to jump in on. 170 needs an RDA more than 155 does.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like 170, like losing Rory, especially now. Jesus God, that hurts. George is up at 185.
Yeah.
170's usually right there with 155, but lately it's like, who's even fighting now?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of who's at top, and I have nothing personal against Woodley, but it's almost like, who makes sense for him? Who's like the 2 and 3 spot? I love the Wonder Boy Masvidal fight. That feels like a title fight to me.
That's what I was about to say when you were mentioning the names. Realistically, though, RDA, how do you see RDA doing against a Wonder Boy or a Masvidal?
That's the big question.
Because they are bigger. Like they've got bulk. Like Magny he's a very gaunt, thin looking athlete. Like he's long and huge reach, but the thicker sort of fighter. Like Masvidal has knockout power. Like if he was to land an RDA,
Wonder Boy is absolutely enormous.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
I think Masvidal would be more interesting because he's got that phenomenal takedown defense, which Thompson's is good for what it is, but it's a different good. He blades well. He kind of shucks his hips out, whereas Masvidal can kind of shrug you off. He did that against Cowboy on a beautifully timed double leg. He just kind of shucked him, and he's more of like a scrapper. Whereas Wonder Boy's a surgeon. I think I don't fare RDA too well there. Stephen Thompson could just blade and sidekick his way. All of a sudden, one comes up in the face, you're rocked. I don't think he fares well in that fight, but I'd love to see him versus Masvidal. That'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But good points on both. I don't know.
That's the thing. It's the upper echelons of the bigger guys. It's great when you say, his natural weight, this is his natural class, but you got like the size, the sheer size of even Woodley, Wonder Boy, Masvidal, they have a huge advantage that they're cutting to get to that. I wouldn't imagine RDA is cutting that big an amount to get to 170 limit. But it's an intriguing fight. I think this is a real test of where he can be in the division, especially with the people that Magny has beaten. I know MMA maths doesn't work that way, but if you can beat the guy who's beaten the guy who's beaten the guy, it stands you in good stead. I'm picking Magny.
You're picking Ric Flair for a minute there. To be the man, you got to beat the man. You're going on a run. That was great.
Spit out that banana.
I get a copyright claim.
All right.
I'm actually. I am going to go. I am going to go with Magny just for the experience at welterweight. With who he's been in there with, and I just think his dexterity and his length and his size is just going to be too much for RDA to come in against, and I think RDA could get clipped coming in. But I think it's an intriguing fight. I won't be if RDA. He's a champion, and champions just have that special pedigree. So I can certainly see how we can get it. Like if he unloads the way he did in previous fights and puts on, I like RDA when he's at his aggressiveness, when he's really fast and aggressive and goes for it. That's how I think he gets in the inside and gets Magny to back up. But I don't know. I just fancy Magny
I'm with you
here.
there. I'm insane.
Yeah, Magny as well.
Magny
Copycat.
as well,
He's just cutting me short. Co-main event, and I believe you may have a video about the bullet, Valentina Shevchenko. Have you released it, or are you working on that today?
Working. God, she's got way more to her game than I thought. I thought I'd be done by now, but man, it's just taking me longer. As I'm putting film together on her, I'm like, most of it I'm going back. A lot of it's her Thai fighting. She's so fucking good.
Yeah.
I honestly, I've seen her fight. I've seen most of her. I think if not all of her UFC fights, but she's been, or at least the ones I've seen, she's against really competitive fighters. Holly. The submission she had over Pena, I think that was more recent. And she gave what's-her-name a run, too, last time. Amanda.
Yeah, I think that if that was a 5-round fight, Shevchenko went on to win that.
Yeah. She's in her grappling is improving. Her striking is ridiculous. The one thing that I think is going to be a little fascinating there, besides, I'll save some of the technical things that I've caught that she does for the breakdown. So make sure you tune in.
Tune in.
But what I think will be fascinating is, as good of a striker as she is, she doesn't have a high KO rate at all.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty mediocre. I think it's like 30%. For a high-level striker, it's not that crazy. Whereas Amanda seems to just put a decimation on people by landing one punch. She's got that kind of terrifying power in her hands, and she's I believe a black belt in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
So if it goes to the ground, who knows? But God, that's such a wonderful fight. That's like the probably the best fight you can make in any female division right now. That's realistic anyway.
It was originally scheduled for UFC 213, and Nunes went to the hospital. She had flu symptoms, wasn't it? And was pulled out. So a lot has been said. You have the backstory of the previous fight. Like Nunes, what I noticed with Nunes is when Nunes wins, she wins in dominant fashion. Like the win goes to submission against Miesha Tate, but let's kid not, she beat the brakes off Miesha Tate to get to that position.
It was an uppercut that put her into Neptune first,
And then, of course, the Ronda Rousey fight where these look like these two people should not be locked in the same arena as one another.
That was an assault.
Yeah, I don't know how she wasn't arrested after it. But no, when you look at her, like even against Sarah McMahon, that was a submission choke, but she landed serious power shots in that as well. But I think like if you look at Katsugano fight with her, Katsugano got through that storm.
Yeah.
And Katsugano finished her in the third round, so she brought her into the deeper waters. I'm not even going to say it's a cardio thing, because I just think Amanda Nunes,
she's a fast starter.
Yeah, she's trying. She's
very
a fast starter, but she's trying to finish the fight. And if you can get through that stage, that's where your window of opportunity comes. Fair. And I think Valentina Shevchenko had that window in their last fight. The third round was all Shevchenko. Yeah. And I would have been like, the thing about this fight is it's going to be 5 rounds. So I think this is where if Valentina can survive the barrage and the assault of Amanda Nunes in the early rounds, and she gets her into 4 and 5, that's where Shevchenko can win this fight. But again, we know this. We know that Nunes starts like this. So as Robin Black said to us when he was on us, so they know this.
Yeah.
So
that's the big interesting thing, isn't it?
The Nunes camp knows that this happens. So will she approach a 5-round fight with Shevchenko differently to how she approached a 3-round fight?
That's the weird one, because as Brendan said, Shevchenko doesn't have a lot of finishes, and she has a lot of decisions, and a lot of those decisions are pretty dominant on the feet. So it'll be interesting to see how Nunes approaches this, especially considering how the last one went, where Shevchenko completely took over that third round. Like, Nunes had barely any offense in that third round, so it was clearly going on the way to a Shevchenko victory if that was going to 5. Now, we can't obviously just take that last fight and say, oh, well, she was winning the last round, she's definitely going to win this. But it'll be interesting to see how Nunes starts this one, because if she truly feels that she can't get Valentina out there in the first or the second early, will she approach it differently, and will that affect her herself? Because I think we touched on this before, when people talk about the likes of Anderson Silva, why didn't he not play around against Chris Weidman? Because that's his game. That's how he won so many fights. That's what he does. And what Amanda Nunes does, she goes out and she blasts girls. She just goes out and puts them out in the first round. So if she goes out and approaches that differently and says, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to be technical, I'm going to try win rounds, I'm going to try not to gas. Will that be a worse decision than actually going in there and just try finishing the first? So that's what I find really interesting about this one.
Against a counter-striker, it might be a horrific idea.
Yeah.
It's not as though Valentina's getting worse. She's getting exponential.
Exactly.
It's fractal. She's exponentially better every time. She outstruck Holly Holm, I think, like, convincingly. It'd be really hard to make a case for Holly Holm winning that. I think it's impossible, in fact. But Valentina, you're talking about the next thing, the next Holly Holm was the next big thing, the women's kickboxing kick-ass machine, and then she picked her apart. She beat Joanna standing, although she's much bigger, in Thai fights. You don't want to go in there it's not as Amanda's got heavy hands and really good hands, but she's not like Vasily Lomachenko.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's not like slipping and you know what I mean? Like she throws hands, and against a counter, Valentina kind of is like that. And she's got this crazy arsenal of her spinning. Her spinning shit is off the charts, and she does it in like odd ways. You'll see. I'll have the breakdown done in a couple hours, but when I break down the way that she does, I'll have it done today.
Yeah, we'll link it in the video for tomorrow.
Oh, I'll have it done yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yesterday. So it'll be link.
But for you guys anyway, the point is like to see the way that she manipulates the center line and like how she exactly counter strikes. I would not be surprised if you see a new champ emerge from that.
Yeah, well, I honestly think my thoughts on this is, like, Amanda Nunes will disagree with that. But I honestly think the best result here for the UFC is Shevchenko to win this, because you're going to have a rivalry where they're both 1-on-1 together.
Rubber match.
Yeah, and you have that big rubber match. Because a lot of people were saying when Ronda Rousey fell from grace that how will the women's division stand up? Will there be superstars? And I honestly think this is a co-main event that people are excited about. And like, as much as, we can be PC and I'd say it, the people weren't getting that excited about the women's fights after Ronda Rousey went. The coverage wasn't there as much as when it was Ronda involved. But I honestly think the coverage for this fight has been there. And I think if Shevchenko was to win this fight and the rubber match was to happen, it'd be the main event. It wouldn't be under a men's. It would be the main event. I honestly think it was a rubber match, and rightfully so. And what I think will stand out in this is these are two seriously talented mixed martial artists, and it's going to be showcased on Saturday night. I can't wait for this fight. This for me potentially has fight of the night on the card, and it's a stacked card. And for me, this is potential fight of the night, and I can't wait.
What's
for
the odds? Do you have the odds
there? Odds are
even.
Probably.
I looked at them earlier. They're like even.
Paddy Power have Shevchenko as the slight favourite at 4-5.
Yeah, it's like
and Amanda Nunes 10-11. For people in living decimals world, that's Amanda Nunes at 1.9 and Valentina Shevchenko at 1.8.
Yeah, so fairly even.
Yeah, fairly
like I said, even.
Yeah. Schlitter.
Jesus Christ.
Your main event of the evening sees the pound for pound best.
No, I want real quick. Sorry. Everyone knows what the main event is, so I didn't spoil the party. What I wanted to say is Ronda's fall from grace and the fall of women's MMA to some extent. Honestly, I think some of that is the best or the champs or whatever right now don't really speak English as their first language. Yeah. That hurts. Like someone like GSP being French first speaking, he still speaks perfect English. Yeah. I mean, we can make fun of his accent, but he can sit in a room with anyone who can sit in a room with John Danaher. If you guys ever get lucky enough to meet him, I mean, that guy's the shit he talks about is so.
I want John Danaher on the show
philosophically.
Yeah. That's your next challenge.
So the point is George speaks English. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but with like Amanda doesn't really. Valentina seems to be getting better. Joanna's definitely getting way better. Yeah. And she's become. But you notice her stock is rising, or as
level of English
would say, her stock has risen. Right? As she gets better with her English and marketing and being stateside more, because she's the best at 115 for sure. And if Valentina pulls this off, it's that's interesting within itself. But that's kind of my theory, because like Valentina's, they can make her look like a model. You know what I mean? It's not as though she's unmarketable. It's just a matter of speech.
Yeah,
you have to relate to the fans on that level sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I thought Amanda Nunes trash talkers. I have all the tools to beat you. Fucking hell, lay it out there. Jesus, take it easy.
By the way, you're picking Shevchenko, is it?
Yeah, I'm picking Shevchenko on that, and I actually think
you were serious. I was like,
I think she'll do it in the fourth round. I think she'll actually finish Amanda Nunes in the fourth round. And set up a rubber match. Yeah. I think it'd be great. The main event, pound for pound, greatest fighter on the planet. I don't think that's too far of a stretch. Demetrious Johnson taking on Ray Borg. Me and Rob spoke briefly and said, is it too early, this shot for Ray Borg? And I thought, it's always going to be too fucking early when he's fighting Demetrious Johnson. What's your thoughts?
It's always going to be too early if you're a 125-pounder.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
He shouldn't. You know what's funny? Anderson never suffered from being at 185 when no one else was.
Yeah.
Right? But for some reason with DJ, and I think there is this odd beta male attraction to watching big males that it's fucking bizarre to me.
Yeah.
As an analyst, a former fighter, as a coach, as a whatever I am, watching Demetrious Johnson is magical. Like I sit there like this, and I don't know him like I know other. I'm much closer to other fighters that are probably more popular, I guess. But watching his technique, like if you ever wanted to show someone like this is the beauty of mixed martial arts, that's the guy. That's the guy. He's just that much better than everyone else. These Cejudos and Pettis is looking great on his way up, and Benavidez, and these are all complete. I mean, Cejudo maybe was rushed a tad, but. Yeah, I mean, to your point, of course, it's always too early. It doesn't matter who. What about Dodson? You telling me everyone didn't think he was going to be a destroyer at 125? Nah, you ran into DJ. Sorry. Next time. No, next time you got fucked up again. That's right. So it's just how good he is. Forget Borg. I mean, could Borg pull it off? Of course. I mean, it's a scrap, and he's got brilliant jiu-jitsu. And he's also a Jackson Wink guy, which is fascinating because you got two of the most heralded coaches right there, Matt Hume, and I guess you could just call it Jackson Wink, but that's a coach's fight. I mean, it's fun on a lot of levels,
Well, the whole DJ as Ray Borg's jiu-jitsu is absolutely phenomenal, but DJ turned around after his victory against Wilson Heiss, where he said, who doesn't want to tune in to watch a white belt tap a black belt?
Yeah,
and
I know.
That's what he done. So what I love about
armbarred him.
What I love about watching DJ fight is when he's against a jiu-jitsu guy, he'll almost go, right, I'm going to beat you at jiu-jitsu now then. And then, like, the people criticise, his Muay Thai's not great. What fight was it? Was it Henry Cejudo that he absolutely destroyed him in the clinch in the Muay Thai plunge?
And Cejudo said post-fight that his plan was to clinch.
Yeah, and he got kneed in the clinch and, like, just almost fell back into the cage.
Like circular one-handed knees, and then he'll slap his way back into the clinch, clinch it up tight, and then he'll loosen up and get into a Greco clinch. He's a master. Yeah. He's perfect everywhere.
And even
I don't know how anyone couldn't appreciate his style. It's what I love
about DJ as well. And people say, he doesn't finish. He does finish, and he chases it. Like, you remember the fight with Haraguchi?
He got a better finishing rate than John Jones. How about that?
Yeah, but remember the fight against Haraguchi where, with a second to go in the fifth round, he went for the armbar and he got it, the arm lock. He got it. And
125-pounder finishing fights at all is awesome. He's finishing most of them now.
Yeah. Like, ultimate respect. I absolutely love watching Demetrious Johnson. But you know what the UFC need to do? They need to stop. No, they forget that too. But they need to stop putting Big Dan Murgliata in as the referee, because what you're saying about the males, we want to see the big guys. Because when they come together, Murgliata looks like he's on the school run. And he's bringing his children for the first day in play school or something. Because Murgliata's about
he's like 6'5"
or something. So yeah, he's huge, man. And then like if the guy, so just I don't know, like put in what's the little guy with the T-Rex arms? What's his name?
What? The Brock Lesnar
guy? The neck tattoos and all. What's his name?
That guy, yeah, he's good actually.
He's a good ref.
Yeah, he's a good ref.
Get him in.
What are you talking about? You got the like hipster hair?
No, he's the guy with the. I think he has like a neck tattoo.
He's a neck tattoo. Sorry.
My favorite.
And he's like, he has real small T-Rex arms. He looks like a little T-Rex.
Oh, this guy sounds handsome.
He's actually, it's terrible. I'm unjustifying it because I'm dealing with what
he's a good referee. By the way, I see Josh Rosenthal's back in the game.
Your point is he's not that tall, right?
Yeah. He's not Dan Murgliata.
Rosenthal's back soon. Is that what you just said?
Rosenthal's back, yeah. Not in the UFC. He was
Invicta, wasn't it?
Was it Invicta, was it? It was, I don't know what it was. I've seen a screenshot.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Dude, he's good. He's amazing.
He's great.
He's one of the best we've ever had.
Yeah.
Super referee.
Back to Demetrious Johnson.
Yeah.
What I love about Demetrious Johnson, and I think we've gotten nerdy about Demetrious Johnson so much on this show, it's ridiculous. I'd say people are sick of it, but MMA as a style is, I don't know if it's like fully developed yet. Like you have like all the different styles, but there's something what Demetrious Johnson does. It's like filling in those styles, like the in betweens.
Yeah,
and like when it's just watching, like
I know exactly where you're going.
You don't see, like, you can't really see. It's hard to explain. You can't really tell what he's going to do because it hasn't really been done very much, if you get me.
Yeah, I'll give my take on what I think you're trying to say.
Go ahead. You'll say it probably better than I did.
So when we first started watching the UFC, right, if that was the first experience with MMA, it was mixing martial arts, right? Mixed martial arts meant the mixing of martial arts.
Yes.
Eventually, as time went on, the artists started mixing the martial arts themselves, right? So you became complete. So whether it was Frank Shamrock learning to strike, and then there was kind of the next gen guys, and then GSP took it to another level, and then there's been some other levels. DJ is like the complete mixed guy. We don't know what to expect. He could come out and start boxing. Yes. You know what I mean? No one would go like, I didn't see that, Cuphead. Like, it's not going to surprise anyone. So when the acronym went from mixing the martial arts to mixed martial artist, how many martial arts can you mix? God, with him, I don't know. 40?
It's insane.
He's a renaissance man in the ring. It's fantastic, and I know what you mean. Like, if MMA were its own martial art, who would it look like? It'd be him. 100%. That's
Matt
awesome,
Hume. I think Matt Hume is not responsible, but he's definitely a driving force behind it. Did you ever watch Matt Hume's old fights? He didn't look like
a bad man.
Holy shit! And he didn't his record wasn't the best record, but the stuff that he was doing was just so advanced. But I think
so ahead of its time.
Exactly. One thing I think kind of encapsulates what I mean by it is, compare Demetrious Johnson's fights to Stefan Struve versus Volkov on the weekend. And not to bash that fight, because I actually did enjoy that fight. I thought it was a good fight. But there was moments in that fight where people were saying, why isn't Stefan Struve shooting for a takedown? Why isn't Stefan Struve doing... You don't see that or hear that in a Demetrious Johnson fight. Demetrious Johnson is free fighting. He's free fighting. That's what it is. You don't ever hear, why he's not going for a takedown? Why he's not trying to use his jiu-jitsu? He's using MMA. You never hear, why he's not shooting for a takedown? It's that thing. It's
just fluidity between the transitions from one style to the next.
He's actually free fighting.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Yeah, it's
like when I did my it was based on kind of a Game of Thrones plan where I always kind of hide things in my breakdowns that are artistic, just for maybe if I get hit by a bus, someone will appreciate the artistic merit to some of the things I do. But with his, I called it Game of Threes, and it was the three elements of the three facets of the game, but I called it the Game of Threes, like Game of Thrones, because he's the king, right? So with Mighty Mouse and his name and everything, it just felt like it worked. And what I was trying to say was, in the phases of clinch work, in the phases of groundwork, in the phases of standing, if there's three phases to each, he's so good at all of them. Where's his hole in his game besides fighting guys much bigger than him? I've never seen one. So that guy, he literally is perfect out there.
To keep on the Game of Thrones theme, will Ray Borg be Jaime Lannister and be the King Slayer?
Very nice.
On Saturday night.
Did Jaime Lannister loses wiener?
No, that's the guy from Game of Thrones. He killed the king and the king's... you've lost it.
Yeah, but didn't something happen to him?
No, he lost his hand.
Spoiler alert, people! If you haven't watched Game of Thrones,
no, Ray Borg will be he'll be the guy that got crushed by the mountain there. I forget his name.
Oh yeah, he's
Oberyn Martell.
He's in Narcos as well. That dude.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah.
Nice job.
I'm a nerd.
Rob is a proper movie and TV nerd.
I do like Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, fantastic. We'll go down a rabbit hole.
I think Demetrious Johnson. Let's move on. I think Demetrious Johnson's hole could be that. That sounds weird. Yeah. Could be that anybody can get hit. Like Ray Borg can hit him. He has been hit in the past.
The whole thing is you're only unbeatable until you're beaten.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everybody doesn't see a hole in the game until somebody exploits
it. I think what will be most surprising, not if Ray Borg wins, because if he wins, he could definitely win. But will be if he dismantles DJ or something like that, and he outskills him. That like a TJ Dillashaw against Barrow, something like that. That would be crazy. But if he lands something, I'm not like
Cody Garbrandt and Cruz. Nobody was expecting
exactly.
that, really,
if something like that happens, then I'll be like, holy shit, Ray Borg. Yeah. What the hell did you drink? But if he lands something, then fair enough. But you have to be thinking that DJ is going to win this one.
Yeah, I would be picking DJ, and I'm just looking at the odds, and he is a huge favourite.
Yes. He's 1 to 10. In our way, it's minus 1,100 or 1,200.
Jesus Christ.
So you'd have to put up 1,200 to win 100.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's absurd odds.
That's more than Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Which is crazy in mixed martial arts.
So I think it's easy to say we're all going to be going with Demetrious Johnson, picking Demetrious on Saturday night. Yeah. That it's a super it's a super
well,
main
Tyrion
card.
Lannister. Tyrion.
Yeah, that's I threw that out there and none of you has picked up on it. I was disgusted. I was like, yeah, Tyrion Lannister. No, whatever.
I just got the wrong guy. My bad.
It's a great card. MMA is back. It's in full flow. As much as we said we did have UFC Rotterdam, it was like just a little taste. They gave you a little appetizer. This is your main course. So I cannot wait for UFC 215. I'm excited by majority of the fights, and I do think my fight of the night potentially is going to be Amanda Nunes against Valentina Shevchenko. But I am looking forward to watching Demetrious Johnson.
Do you know what else
again.
I'm looking forward to? Brendan Dorman's breakdown.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
So that's it. Get on it for people listening.
Link below.
Get on the link below if you're on YouTube, or if you're listening, get onto YouTube and just type in Brendan Dorman. Hit subscribe as well, and then watch the video. Educate yourself. Well, that sounds condescending, but look at Brendan looks at things the way not many others do. And 100% when you watch a Brendan Dorman video, you feel a little smarter after it ends. But go and check it out. When you finish watching it, then go to obviously Fight Talk and hit subscribe as well. But Mr. Dorman, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. We spoke about the letter H. We spoke about slitters. We spoke about hurling. Off air, we spoke about why you gave up your dreams as a soccer player. It's not fit for a podcast. But an absolute pleasure, my man, to talk to you as always.
Thank you for the wonderful words, and we'll never bring up the football thing again.
Never.
Thanks, guys, so much. I had a great time as always.
Cheers, my man. Talk to you next week, and we'll talk to you all week on social media anyway.
Cheers.
That's been a cracking episode, Rob. Brendan Dorman, as always, thank you for coming on. His insight and the way he looks at fights. And like we said, check it out. Check his channel. You honestly will. He looks at things differently. He looks at technique and stuff the way an artist can see a painting. Brendan basically paints the picture for you, and it's phenomenal work. And of course, a big thank you to big George Foreman. I still can't believe we spoke with George Foreman. What an honour.
House for real. At the end of the day, we do this because it's something that we love to do. You know, we put a lot of work into it. Just because we love to do it. But you know, those kind of things where you get to talk to George Foreman. Wow. It's just what you kind of, you know, I never thought when we started we'd talk to George Foreman. That's one thing. So it's amazing. Thanks very much for his time. 100%. I
just want to briefly say as well, get on to Fight Store Ireland, Fighter's Choice. We'd like to thank them as a sponsor, but get on to their YouTube channel, Fight Store Media, and check out the Clan Wars 29 footage. The fights were incredible at the weekend. Clan Wars are doing this sort of like Clan Wars Contender, where it's the prelims of the card, where they're 3 2-minute rounds, where fighters can get in to taste the waters of competing in a show at the size of Clan Wars. But my God, did every fight deliver. The matchmaking by Paul Mack and his team up there is second to none. It was absolutely phenomenal. Standouts of the night, Callum Liston from Chris Field's SPG Swords again. Holy Lamb of God, Callum Liston is an absolute killer. Check out the Ross McCorriston against Dara Toman. What a fight. Potential amateur fight of the year. Other standouts as well was Kieran Loughran's knockout over Glenn McFay. What a fight. There's so much talent on it. Just get on to Fight Store Media, and honestly, the talent in this country is untapped. It's honest to God, at amateur level, there's the new era coming through. Like we were talking about Reese McKee earlier and Richie Smullen. They were the amateurs a couple of years ago. They're now the potential, the pros coming through. But man, there is a tidal wave of talent behind these gyms. Go and check them out. hit a like and just enjoy the fights. It was an honour to call their names and commentary as well. So I'm not even plugging it for myself, but that's my annoying voice you will hear on commentary as well with Johnny Burrows. But an exceptionally good card. Get onto Fight Star Media on YouTube to watch them. MMAmix.com. Thank you as always. They're obviously good because they're with obviously Fight Talk, and feelsupreme.co.uk for all your fighter needs as well, for your CBD oils, all your organic product. Check them out. They're on Facebook. Get on and give them a like, and go on to feelsupreme.co.uk. And when you're making your purchase, stick in the fight code Fight Talk and whatever buying code. Stop ruining my sale. Fight Talk, you get 10% off. So check them out. Orders. But Palin, 79's been great. What an honour.
Yeah.
What an honour.
Have to do something good for 80.
Yeah, and look, enjoy the fights. There's a great weekend of fights. I can't wait for them, and I can't wait to talk about them next Monday. I've been Noel O'Keefe. You've been Robert Palin.
Cheers, man.
You've been listening and watching. Peace out. 79.